Hi guys, this is now episode 12 of the Burrell Build, and today we're going to get the smoke box door actually hinging on the smoke box. To do that we'll need the hinges, which will go on here, and I think we should get straight to drilling so that then you can actually see how it's going to work and how it will look when it's done. I had now already marked with the blue where the hole needed to be drilled and had just touched on to make sure we were in the middle of my two lines. Here you can see we're just finishing centre drilling it. Before then drilling it, this is not the final size it will be. This is a tight fit for the bolt, which will be holding it down slightly later on, and then we will be reaming it later on in the video, as you will see. Here you can then see the hole is drilled, and after taking it out of the vise we can see the screws are tight fit. We then used the bandsaw to cut off only the necessary material we needed and got the thing set up in the rotary table, ready to do the radius on one end of it. Also note that we are actually clamping on two nuts, not thread. Now to the rotary tape, we can see there's quite a nice radius on it. Now just to duplicate it, and then we screwed them together and put them back in the vise ready for milling. Here you can then see the position of them. It's quite important the distance from the hole to where it holds on to the front of the smoke box to make sure there's no gap on the door or that it's pulling too tight. Next job was then to drill a hole for the screw that will then hold them to the front of the smoke box. So we wobbled them, put a bit of blue on just to then make sure that the hole looked to be in the middle, and then we could center drill them and drill them as you can see here, making sure not to drill too deep. Next job was then to tap the 2 holes. You can see they're now tapped. Then we can move on to reaming the main hole for the 1/4 inch pin. The reason why we didn't do this to begin with was so that then the bolt could be tight in the hole to ensure it being central on the rotary table. Now you can see them both mostly done. Next job was to get the door in the miller. It's quite difficult. As you can see, we've got it bolted to an angle plate here, where we're then going to drill the 2 holes. Unfortunately, I didn't get much filming actually done of that, but here you can then see the door and the hinges set on the smoke box, not actually bolted to the smoke box, just there, and then also the rod we're going to use to go through the hinges and the door. Next we got the smoke box in the miller to drill the 2 holes required to put the bolts through. Here you can see one of the bolts being drilled after lots of working out having been done. The vise on the inside serves no purpose. It was just easier so that we wouldn't have to get it out and then set it back on and reclock it. Now with one of the bolts in, we've now decided to drill the second hole here, as you can see now drilling it. With the smoke box now out of the mill, it was time for the most exciting thing, to actually open up the door. The rod is still way too long as we didn't want to cut it too short. Here it is opening. As you can see, there's not much on the inside, but you can see the 2 bolts that we're currently using. The plan was then to mill 2 slots in the rod to stop it from moving up and down or turning. This rod was going to be stationary in the hinges, and then the actual door would spin on the rod. The bolt will then also be clamping on here, with then the nut holding the hinges in. You can see it then fitted, with the door also having been sanded a tiny bit. The next job was then to put the door in the mill. We then turned the head using a bar in there which had a bit of a flat end, and we set that on the nameplate to try and get the angle so that when we drilled the bolts they would like sit levelish. Then we got the large nameplate on and drilled the hole. As you can see, we've raid down one of the other one, and you can see one of the countersunk screws sitting in it.
Blow it.
There is then our final hole, and you can see then we've done all 4 with the screws now in them. Then we took it back off with the rod now a little bit shorter. It's not quite perfect, but here you can see maybe a little bit fine tuning after, and there you can see it now sitting on the ground. The chimney again has just been set on there. The centre of the smoke box will need holes drilled to bolt it on, as well as the small nameplate. Here you can see we've now got 4 small holes for the small nameplate. Then we drilled 3 for the centre of the smoke box. Now that we had the holes drilled in the smoke box, we just need to do the same ones in the actual piece, remembering that we really did not want to drill all the way through on this. I had the clever idea of then setting the door on top and looking through just to confirm all of my holes were going to be drilled in the right spot. We then swapped to a flat drill bit, although I seem to be missing the picture as this one still looks very pointy, but essentially we just bench grind down one of the pointy drill bits that are a bit old to then make a flat drill bit. Then it was time to tap the 3 holes before we would then be able to bolt them to the smoke box. Again, I missed a lot of filming here, and we're now jumping ahead and both of the handles are on. These are made from 2 different pieces. One part is the handle and the other part is the center, and then they're just screwed in there Loctited. You can then also see the bar which we made last episode. If you want to see that, then the link will be on the screen in about a minute. I hope you have enjoyed this episode. You can now just see the smoke box door closing and locking. I hope you guys have enjoyed this episode. Make sure to subscribe to support the channel and see the rest of the Burrell Build. In the next episode we're going to be working on the spectacle plates and getting them fitted, and we'll be moving back to the back and continuing work on the back and leaving the front for now, as we got most of it done.